This is Ag Matters PM from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, your daily recap of the information that affects Iowa's farmers, producers, and consumers right here in the heart of the heartland. With reports from our award-winning team of Dustin Hoffman, Riley Smith, and Mark Magnuson. Now, from the IARN studios in Des Moines, here's Mark Magnuson.
Hello and welcome into Ag Matters PM on the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. I'm Mark Magnuson. Today is Tuesday, January 6th, 2026. We're so glad you could join us for today's show. In today's episode, I will be joined by Ethan Robson of agmarket.net to take a look at the two-sided trade we saw today in the ag marketplace. But first, it is my discussion with Eric Scherder of Corteva as we talk about a challenging crop season in 2025. Mark Magnuson for the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, and I'm joined today by Eric Scherder. We are at the Corteva booth at the NAFB Convention 2025. And Eric, could you remind me, please, your job title with Corteva?
Yeah. Corteva Agri-Science Crop Protection Technical Lead. Work in our marketing department across all our portfolios and work with those product managers.
And Eric, you're the guy to talk to because this was the year that I think about the main theme being disease pressure in the state of Iowa.
Yeah, it's amazing, especially when all the stars aligned this year. We had some of the worst disease we've seen in a long time. We haven't ever seen rust like this probably 20 or 30 years to a great extent. To the point, it just really showed the weaknesses of certain hybrids. It showed weaknesses in our fungicide programs. And in fact, we had a lot of growers having to do two-pass programs this year just to keep in front of it.
And to your point, I mean, we've seen southern rust in Iowa in the past in the southern counties at times.
Yep.
I mean, but it got all the way up to the northern counties, made it into Minnesota.
Dakotas, yeah.
The Dakotas as well. And I'm thinking back to in August when we're at the Iowa State Fair for our exhibit, every single farmer that stopped by wanted to talk to us about southern rust pressure this year.
Yeah, in fact, I was talking with another individual. That's a four-letter word that we don't want to use anymore is rust, and that is it's been a tough year. The good news is, I think those farmers that went out and they had robust programs did very well. We launched a new fungicide this year called Forcevo fungicide. It's a 3-mode of action product. So like many products out there, you've got a strobilurin, a triazole, an SDHI. We're bringing in basically kind of an underutilized triazole here in the Midwest, a novel SDHI, and the results we're seeing with that on-farm trials and through our farm networks has been phenomenal. So this will be a really good opportunity for growers this coming season to use it. In fact, we had one grower talking about northern Iowa. We actually spelled out the word Forcevo out in the field. It was our untreated. We followed the Approach Prima, that two-pass program this year. It was 49 bushel better. And that's not saying you're going to get 49 bushels every time. It just shows you the amount of pressure that was out there.
That's a great point. And then on top of it, you mentioned that some farmers had to go with the two passes. You saw the difference between obviously untreated and treated, but if you made that second pass as well, that could have saved you some yield.
Oh, absolutely. And what's so unique about this year, when you think about July, I mean, we broke a lot of rainfall records in July. We had cool and we had warm. We had the perfect environment for us. So it wasn't like it was in, then just moved out. Once we got control, it was just kept coming and coming and coming. So even though you may have had a good fungicide out there, 21, 28 days later, we needed to go ahead and reapply and get some more protection out there to let that ear fully fill. And that's one thing I would say this year, some growers, normally you wouldn't think about a two-pass program. That's abnormal. But this year we're seeing in test weight, the advantages there, and if you didn't, we definitely saw, huge decrease, 40, 50 bushels at times if you didn't spray.
So is the lesson to take away there to apply to future growing seasons, to have a plan in place in case you would have to do something like that?
Yeah, yes. And right now what I would say for most growers is everything's fresh on your mind for this past season. Every day we get away from there, things get more blurry, you forget about it. And then by the time we get to spring, what did we do last year? Well, there's some things we can improve upon for sure. Take down those mental notes, write that stuff down. I know it's a tight economy. I get where we're at in farming, but cutting back on pre-emerged products is probably not the best choice of trying to save a few dollars there. Not spraying a fungicide potentially could cost you huge dividends in 2026. So you've got to look at all your choices out there. And sometimes we're going to have to spend a little money just to preserve the yield potential we have out there, because that's a ripple effect if you don't.
And I think in the past, some growers would look at fungicide and say, I don't necessarily need that. But then in a year like this, it obviously shows the big difference between the haves and have-nots.
I would say on an average year, just take an average Iowa year, fungicides at worst are break-evens. But what is it doing for you? You're usually getting better plant health, better dry down, better stay green, stalk quality, all this, I'm going to call it intangible stuff that you don't read on a yield monitor. But boy, sure makes that harvest go better. And if I can pay for itself and then also raise my my base acres out there for insurance purposes at the same time, that's a win-win long term. It helps you ride out some of these storms out there.
And then also you want to talk about just overall plant health. Think to Iowa, and this year in a lot of areas of the state, we got to about, I don't know, first week of August and the faucet shut off. And so we saw some of those plants deteriorate pretty quickly.
Oh, yeah.
Stock quality, for example, it rapidly deteriorated.
Yeah, it was eye-opening. I think it was eye-opening for a lot of growers this year. And again, not picking on any genetic background. Every company had a hybrid out there that, we just have never seen rust to this level. And it really showed the diversity of the genetic pool out there. But you talk about farmers getting very frustrated when they walk by, and it's, we're 2 weeks from September, and that field looks like it's ready to be combined. Because it died down, and they got into it, and it was barely even 54, 55-pound test weight. They lost 20 pounds and 20 bushels alone just in test weight, not to mention the stalk quality, everything just went pod. So there's a lot to be gained from knowledge. Now, the one thing is, let's not throw the baby out with the bathwater. Just because we have a bad year here doesn't mean we need to revamp the whole system. Farming is multiple years of experience, but having those tools in the toolbox is absolutely critical.
So, Eric, is there anything else you'd like to let our Iowa growers know about when it comes to anything you're working on with Corteva or anything you're excited about?
Well, one of the things I will say is this. Obviously, I would say in general, when you think about Iowa and our farmers, we've done a really good job in our corn crops for weed control. Most of the companies out there have got a really good pre-mix programs, multiple modes of action. We've done a pretty good job. We can always improve. When we get to soybeans, that's one area I see a lot of us. We really need to kind of work on increasing our rates there on our pre-emerge, because once you get in season, we just are so much more limited. And on top of that, we need to start thinking about layered residuals in season for soybeans. That's one. The growers that did that this year paid big. The July range just kept new flushes coming and coming and coming. And we had a lot of dirty fields this year on soybeans, and that's you're going to fight that again next year because of the weed pop. So,
he is Eric Scherder with Corteva Agriscience, my guest here today at the NAFB convention in Kansas City. Eric, thanks so much for the time. Always great to talk with you.
Absolutely, Mark. Enjoyed it.
Thank you to Eric Scherder of Corteva for joining today's episode of Ag Matters PM. It is time now for our closing markets, and I'm joined by Ethan Robson of agmarket.net. Ethan, we started the day with quite a bit of green on our screen that continued through midday. Is that how we closed in the grains?
It's not, no. Saw a little two-sided trade today. Opened up 8:30, was in the green for both corn, soybeans, wheat. About an hour or so before the close today, traded back into the red today, and then accelerated the red selling into the close today. Had March corn down about a penny, 443 3/4, trading both sides of that 200-day moving average. March soybeans down 5.5, 10.56, and then new crop soybeans down 8 cents at 10.67 3/4. Saw earlier today that U.S. flash sale 8 a.m. Central Time. Saw China come in and buy some soybeans now. Market's anticipating them to be around that 10 to 10.5 million metric tons of soybeans. Looks like they will get to that 12 million metric tons by the end of February or whenever that timeline is if they keep up this pace. So that was good to see. Overall, though, story remains the same. Weather in Brazil continues to remain favorable. Saw StoneX raise their estimate to match CONAP's. I think it was a 176.7 along those lines. USDA is at 175. A little bit of spread there, but overall, weather-wise in South America continues to remain favorable, and that's the main driver for soybeans right now.
So, Ethan, with the two-sided trade today, what's kind of your theory behind that? Because we started out with a promising day, it looked like, and then, as you mentioned, finish in the red.
Yeah, I think the main thing is that South America weather. Soybeans leading the drive lower today. Also had energy market turn around today, too. Some of the energy, crude oil, diesel was positive to start out the day, and then over the last hour or so, really sold off. That had corn market down as well, wheat market down with it. And overall, markets just continue to anticipate that Monday USDA's crop production report. How big is this U.S. corn crop going to be, and what do they do to U.S. soybean yield? And so, it's going to be interesting, expecting a little two-sided trade up until Monday till we can finally get that final U.S. yield report for USDA.
So let's talk about the other side of the marketplace now today. What happened with the protein sector?
Yeah, protein sector, different story there. I was able to see some green on the screen today. So live cattle, impressive chart today. Been able to get above that 100-day moving average. No, last time we talked, just hasn't been able to get above that. Starting to fill some gaps as well. That's good to see. Feeder cattle as well, continuing to be up $3 to $4 across the board today. That's impressive too. Feeder cattle been just able to continue impressive run in feeders, getting close to that 360 level. Haven't been able to get above that quite yet. And then lean hogs, just impressive market. Been able to make new highs in that June, July contract yesterday. A little bit quiet day to day, up a couple points here or there, but really nothing too crazy there. Big story outside markets as well. Metals just continue to be on their impressive run. Silver continues to climb above $80 an ounce there. Gold continues to make record high, about $4,500.
Ethan, what's the best way for our viewers to get in touch for more marketing information?
Yeah, give us a call here in Bloomington Normal. Be happy to help. 1-800-779-1515. Visit us online at agmarket.net.
He's Ethan Robson with agmarket.net. Thanks so much for the time, Ethan. Always appreciate it, and have a great rest of your day.
You as well. Thank you.
Thank you to Ethan Robson of agmarket.net for joining today's show. Let's take a look at the closing market numbers, and those can be found anytime under the Markets tab at iowaagnet.com. March corn closes down a half cent at $4.44. March soybeans down 5 3/4 at $10.56 1/4. March soybean meal down 40 cents at $2.9950. March soybean oil down 47 cents at $49.40. Chicago wheat down 2 pennies at $5.10 1/2. Minneapolis wheat down 4 cents at $5.68. Kansas City hard red wheat up 3/4 cent at $5.21 1/2. March oats up 3 1/2 at $3.08 even. On the Merc, February live cattle up 75 cents at $236.63. January feeder cattle up $3.20 at $362.18. February lean hogs down 48 cents at $85.68. February pork cutout unchanged at $93.75. Class 3 milk up 7 cents at $15.10. That wraps up our closing market summary for today and brings us to the end of today's show. You can find all of our content online at iowaagnet.com. From the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network studios in Des Moines, I'm Mark Magnuson. For Dustin Huffman and Riley Smith, you've been watching Ag Matters PM.